recently saw one of those vox pop things where somebody went round with a microphone asking students questions which I would have considered just so blindingly obvious it was insulting to ask. And yet I think one of them was, when was the first time a man landed on the sun? And there's these two students sort of there trying to work out what they remembered of that particular space voyage. And there was another one where, and this was truly horrifying, it was something like, where's Venice, Italy? And the girl said something like, I should know that, I'm a teacher. Stuff like that. Now, this all fits in very well with this particular article in the Telegraph. But look, that vox pop I saw was America, but it's no use us here in Britain being all smug and self-satisfied about that, because this particular article that I'm going to be talking about takes place in Britain. So we're all as badly off as each other by the sound of things. I don't know. I remember when I was doing, I was doing a master's degree at a well-known American university. And we were talking about a story by Joseph Conrad, which started with some men on a fishing trip in the Thames estuary as the sun was going down and it was midsummer. And Conrad describes the nearly imperceptible drop of the sun into the sea. Now, Americans who've come to Britain have always been flabbergasted by the long days in the summertime in Britain. They don't realise exactly how far north we are. And we have long days in the summer because of the tip of the earth. And the tip, the angle the earth is on, means that it gets longer sunlight hours during the summer. There's the sun, there's the axis. Okay. And of course, in the winter, shorter days. Well, so the people who were in that class were discussing how this slow sun was a symbol of something, because of course the sun goes down very quickly. And then I said, hang on, not so fast. In Britain, it does go down very slowly. You can hardly see it moving in the summertime. Right now, it's light until 9 o'clock. When I was a youngster in Leeds, which is further north than the south of England, it was light until, about 10:30 at night. And then it got light again, 3 or 4 in the morning. So a lot of Americans just don't realise that. But now I'm telling you. Okay, so there's this, but there was this lack when I was talking about the axis. I got a set of blank faces round the table. I couldn't believe it. They didn't know that and these were graduate students, had no idea that the earth tipped on an axis. Anyway, so I know that there is a problem, and this was quite a long time ago, so it's not new. There is a problem with information in America. I'm not sure about Britain. I sort of thought that it was a bit better here, but, I could be wrong. Anyway, all my sons know that the earth turns on an axis, but then again, I was teaching them as well as the school, so who knows. Right, so this is a headline in the Telegraph. Archaeology students given dead bodies trigger warning. Infantilization of universities continue as lecture participants notified about images of human remains amid fears they could be upset. Okay, now you may laugh, but this is a very grave matter, and it's not at all dusty and dried up. So let's vault right into it. Okay, what's the next bit that I wanted to read to you? Yeah, archaeology students have been warned they'll be exposed to images of human remains and funeral rituals during their lectures amid fears it could cause them upset. With respect, or actually even without it, if you get a young hopeful for an archaeology degree applying to your university and that student isn't aware that she'll be digging up historical sites where there are likely to be organic remains of various sorts, then I would venture to suggest that archaeology is probably a dead duck so far as she is concerned. Right, what's the next bit? Yeah, the University of York, which is of a venerable age, it's not some new college or other. The University of York has included several content warnings to prepare students on courses where they'll be shown the remnants of our ancient ancestors. Goodness me, in an archaeology degree. Well, I never. Those embarking on the university's mummification module, for example, have been told that lectures will contain images of dead bodies and human skeletal material. If I were teaching that course, I might be inclined to pre-warn students not to be eating sandwiches while doing their homework. But apart from that, it's archaeology. All right, what's next here? Infantilization of British universities. I got that word right this time. Alan Sked, Emeritus Professor for the Department of International History at LSE, that's the London School of Economics, and a very venerable institution which is supposed to be full of intelligent people, said it was yet another example of the infantilization of British universities, which he added clearly continues apace. No, it's not the infantilization of British universities, Professor Sked. It's the infantilization of society as a whole. And frankly, I want to say the first symptom of that was the hunting ban, in my opinion. Look, I appreciate it that it's not for everyone, and I understand that there are people who have arguments against it. I don't think they're legitimate, but they make sense to them, and people are allowed to have their opinion. But then the perceived cruelty of fox hunting is nowhere near as bad as coming into your chicken coop first thing in the morning and finding a lot of feathers and bloody corpses, as one of my chicken breeding friend did after spending years breeding these wonderful chickens she had. And I want to say that hunting is, in my personal experience, less to do with killing foxes than with scaring the living crap out of them so they don't come near areas of human habitation again. Every so often you hear now of urban foxes coming into people's houses and having a go at the baby's toes. And that's because they have no fear of humans anymore. And why should they? Humans aren't even feeding them. Okay, well, we can go into that another time, but the point I'm making is that nature is not a kind and sensitive mother. Nature is an implacable force interested only in the species, not the individual. The most horrible things happen in nature, and the problem is that most people alive in most Western countries nowadays are completely unaware of the life and death struggle going on around them every single second of every hour of every day that they're alive. I know more about it, of course, because we see more of life and death on a farm where there's livestock, and I'm involved in a way in the farming world, being involved with horses. But very few people have that privilege. They get up in the morning, they have their coffee, which comes from somewhere they know not where, which comes from the supermarket. They have their eggs, which come from the supermarket. They have their milky drinks come from the supermarket. And they have their bread comes from the supermarket. They get into their cars or the buses or the trains. They go to offices with all this fantastic equipment around them, whirring and buzzing and flashing. And then they go home and they eat their dinners, and everything there comes from the supermarket. And of course, they don't really have the feeling of what is really happening, that the fight to produce food is a constant battle. And it's not just growing grain, it's keeping your livestock safe as well. You can't eat a lamb if a fox has got it. Anyway, city people have a different perception, and they have an infantilized view of the world, basically. Okay, so what was the next bit I wanted to read? Oh yeah, here we are. Not so long ago, it says here, Glasgow University warned its theology. I'm sorry, I read this the first time, I laughed. Okay, Professor Sked says that not so long ago, Glasgow University warned its theology students that a course on Christ ended with an execution. And he also said its archaeology students were warned in advance that digs might reveal human remains. Budding archaeologists were also alerted to the potential for frequent discussion of funerary treatments for the dead, while students who enrolled to study another module on themes of violence and conflict within world archaeology were told their lectures would contain images of dead bodies and frequent discussion of extreme and ritualized violence. Prof. Sked said, "At this rate, all history students should be warned that most history books are likely to include bloody episodes of war or revolution. Indeed, all students should be warned when arriving at university that books and lectures may, alas, only may, in today's intellectual climate," oh, Professor Sked, you really got your hand on the pulse there, "in today's intellectual climate contains dangerous things called ideas. Although for their own protection, controversial ones will be banned." Now, we're into Harry Potter and Jane Austen. Universities have come under fire in recent years for issuing trigger warnings on a series of topics, including Harry Potter and Jane Austen. English literature undergraduates at the University of Salford, where Jane Austen is on the reading list, my goodness me, that's a surprise, were furnished with the following disclaimer. This is now students at the University of Salford were furnished with a disclaimer before they started reading Jane Austen. There are scenes and discussions of violence and sexual violence in several of the primary texts studied on this module. Yeah, just imagine, Mr. Darcy indulges in a furious session of hand kissing with Elizabeth Bennet. Yeah, I don't know how they could stand that. Some students may find the content of the following texts distressing. Okay, get your smelling salts ready, kids. We are now going to read The Very Hungry Caterpillar. And trigger warning, this may contain scenes of violence. All right, well, I'm Granniopteryx. I am to be found on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, and as I say, mine's probably At least my old ones. My new ones are having trouble being uploaded at the moment. We'll see how that goes. I am at granniopteryx on Twitter, Gab and Parler, where I let you know when I've uploaded a new video. Okay, so subscribe to one of those and you won't miss a video. Please like this one, share it, contribute to the channel if you can, and to those who have contributed, thank you very much. Right, I think that's about it. Yes, oh, and subscribe. Yeah, just check your subscription, and till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Grambo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share, share, share.